Here we go, 49ers OTAs. We've got coaches speaking, some of the newer coaches in newer roles. What can we learn from what's happening in Santa Clara at OTAs? Where are those rookies lining up? All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers, and we especially love it when you hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. All right. I think there's a ton of stuff we can get from what's going on. And I know it's voluntary OTAs and maybe not the most important practices of the year, Croc, but there are certain things we can learn. And some of the things are obvious. We talked about earlier in the week that, Brandon Ayuk holding out. He's not going to be around until he gets a new contract. I don't think that should shock anybody, whether it's voluntary or mandatory. Juwan Jennings not there, not signed his restricted free agent tender, which I think is very interesting, something we didn't really know or anticipate was going to happen. So he's not there. He's trying to figure out what's going on with his contract situation. I've heard people say that, Christian McCaffrey's holding out from OTAs. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Just because you're not there doesn't mean you're holding out. Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, don't practice. I don't care. Be there and healthy in week one, right? That's kind of like where I'm at with those guys. And maybe McCaffrey contractually could maybe be looking at something in the future, but he's already the highest paid running back in the league. Maybe he wants wide back money. I don't know.
Here's the thing, too, real quick. A lot of people have these built-in incentives to show up to OTAs. And if he doesn't have that in his contract, and, it might be like I remember seeing a $200,000 check for Antonio Cromartie just to be there for OTAs. So some of these guys, they have like incentives to be there. People got to remember OTAs is there to prepare you for training camp. It's build up. It's not just stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and all that for no reason. It's, hey, we're on the field. We're working out. We're running sprints. We're doing agility stuff, things that kind of just build your body up, and they continue to progress until you have mini camps. The mini camps, you're kind of all out for the most part, right? Team stuff and all that. Well, I bet you'll see Christian McCaffrey at team stuff, but I don't think we have to doubt how certain people are going to take care of their bodies, right? Whether it's Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, and again, I'm pretty sure Nick Bosa might be there to kind of ramp up because they build it up gradually to get you prepared. But it's fun to see guys there. It's definitely not a big deal if they aren't there, if you can trust that they know what they're doing once, they have to get on the field and start making plays.
Yeah, and I didn't expect Nick Bosa to be there, so that was almost a surprise that Bosa was there. And he spoke about it, and he said he had talked with Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle kind of laid out some reasons why he thought might be a good idea for Nick Bosa to be there. Bosa said he agreed, and I thought it was hilarious that Bosa said this is less work than he would be getting back in Florida anyway. So it's almost like, I can't remember the term he used, but he said it was like a active rest period for him, basically. So he's kind of doing less, but it's football stuff, not just working out. And so I thought that was really interesting what Bosa said. To be honest with you, one of the weird stories for me this whole offseason, and Brandon Staley, one of the newer coaches on the 49ers, and we'll go through what some of the new roles are for coaches right now. Brandon Staley, though, is officially assistant head coach / defense. Now, defense isn't a coach, Croc. Like, I don't know what / defense even means. We already know he's a guy that comes from the defensive side of the ball in his coaching career. So that means he's probably a roving guy and has some input and some say and is extra set of eyes for everybody on the defensive side of the ball. And obviously has head coaching experience, assistant head coach. But I find it weird that when Anthony Lynn was hired as assistant head coach a few years ago, nobody was like, oh, Anthony Lynn, it's going to be the Anthony Lynn offense now and not Kyle Shanahan's offense, even though Kyle Shanahan coordinates the offense. But they hired Brandon Staley, and immediately everyone was like, oh, Nick Sorensen's not really the guy. It's actually Brandon Staley's defense. I don't know where this idea came from. And everyone keeps asking Nick Sorensen questions and Brandon Staley questions as if there's like some weird secret hierarchy out there. And their answers are always like, no, Nick Sorensen's the defensive coordinator. Brandon Staley's assistant head coach, different roles. And so I don't know why everyone's trying to put a weird spin on the whole coaching situation. I guess just because Brandon Staley's been a head coach and people don't really know, like Nick Sorensen doesn't have the big name, but when Brandon Staley was asked about it, he said he really wanted to come because he wanted to work with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and really admired the system and everything that was built with the San Francisco 49ers. And they haven't decided where he'll be on game days. And it's funny because Staley said he and Shanahan haven't decided where he's going to be on game days because, Kyle has some say over where you're going to sit when you're coaching the defense, whether it's in the booth or on the field. But he's like, it's clear Nick Sorensen is the defensive coordinator and will run the defense.
Well, first of all, no, Sorensen is not the real defensive coordinator. We know who the real defensive coordinator is. Say it with me, Peacock. 1, 2, 3. Kyle Shanahan.
It's the same guy who coordinates the offense when Anthony Lynn was brought in, right? He has say. He gets to tell you where you're going to coordinate the offense from, whether it's in the booth or on the sideline. And he's decided what the scheme is for the San Francisco 49ers. But Nick Sorensen will call the plays on Sunday.
He'll call the plays. But do you remember what Sorensen said when they asked him, hey, why'd you get the job? And he was like,
ask Kyle. He hired me.
He's like, I don't know. I think Kyle said, I understand the defense. So that's not somebody saying, oh, I have this great philosophy. I know my defense. I'm bringing, this in. I know the defense that he wants me to run. So, okay, I'm going to hire him. And then Kyle basically just trust him to be able to implement how he sees the defense being run. That's all this is. So you look at a guy like Brandon Staley, and it's just someone to help, right? Like help the defense evolve a little bit, or certain things, help with the game planning a little bit. There is a lot that goes into preparing for games. When I was with the San Jose Sabercats, they did an amazing job of having those players prepared. Who would have thought that so much could go into just 8 guys on each side of the ball being on the field at one time, and there's only so many different plays you can run. But when we stepped in that meeting room come Monday morning, we knew exactly what the opponents were going to do to a T. And Staley is a guy, even if you don't want him calling plays, you don't want it to be his philosophy. But even if it's just watching what these other teams do, breaking down situations, and then giving that to Sorensen. My guy, Tyler Bray, I remember hearing him talk about what his job was as a backup quarterback. It wasn't to be this great quarterback that could come in and take a team to the Super Bowl if your starter goes down. His job was for Mitch Trubisky, make sure that Mitch had everything he needed to be successful in the games. Like, that was his job as a backup quarterback. All right, Mitch, you need these plays there. They do these certain things. Okay, this is what they do on third downs. They watch the film with him. Hey, this is what we're seeing. What are you seeing here? It's basically damn near be an extra coach. And I think that's what Staley is for the 49ers. Another mind, another football mind, which he is a good football mind. You can be a good football mind, but maybe not get the results that you ideally wanted when you were the head coach, right? But he was a good defensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams. I think he'd be a good defensive football mind for the 49ers, just to help, even if it's not him having his fingerprints all over what the philosophy is, which I don't think he does.
One thing that is also not changing with the 49ers defensive scheme is the defensive line. An interesting quote from defensive line coach Chris Kocurek on the 49ers outlook in 2024. Some more coaching notes. Who are the coaches? What are they doing? New coaches for the 49ers. And where are the rookies lining up? I think we can learn something from early OTAs here for the 49ers next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is sponsored by Yahoo Finance. And when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your retirement, when it comes to what you've been building your whole life for, whether you've been doing it for a long time or you're just getting started, your financial future is important. And you think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses. That's Yahoo Finance. For over 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor, just looking for some extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need all in one place. They are the #1 finance destination. Holistic looks at financial news cycles, breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Over 90 million users each month at Yahoo Finance. So for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. So 49ers longtime defensive line coach Chris Kocurek, he was brought in for a reason. He's been coaching them up, attacking style of defense, he called it. And he was asked, is Brandon Staley, kind of played a little bit more of an odd front and, maybe two gap schemes. It's a little bit different look up front. Is that what the 49ers are transitioning to? And Chris Kocurek said, nope, we're running our scheme. We're running our attacking style defensive line, the wide nine, all of that. We might throw in some wrinkles and some different looks to keep offenses honest, as we have already done, but nothing is changing with the defensive line either. This is the 49ers scheme. It's staying. Nick Sorensen's calling it. The defensive line is being run the same way, attacking style, wide nine from Chris Kocurek. So get all of that out of here. Brandon Staley's not coming in to change anything. He's coming in to support the staff and the system that's already in place.
Right. So that's just more clarification on just what we thought. Just another football mind in there to really help. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The interesting thing with the 49ers is for how much success they continue to have after all the turnover, the changeover, the players, people still question certain moves like that. Even with Wilkes, I think we could question it. It was something that we didn't maybe foresee happening because they went outside the building. And they hadn't quite done anything like that. It seemed like more of a team that wants to kind of shape the guys the way that they want to. I think about Bill Belichick. Belichick doesn't really hire like, this is a great defensive back coach. Let me hire him, bring him over here. No, let me hire this lacrosse coach, teach him how I want him to teach defense and defensive backs, not hire a guy like Eric Crocker that has his own philosophies, mold and shape this guy, bring him up. And then now here you go. You do your thing. That's what Kyle Shanahan has essentially done. So I think the Wilkes thing was a little out there because of it. But even then, what are the results? The results were, regardless of how it happened, the Chiefs had 19 points at the end of regulation in the Super Bowl, right? Yep. Like you still on paper had a solid defense, right? It was there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would take the numbers that the 49ers put up. So, even bringing in a guy like Staley are you adopting it? Whatever it is, I trust that the 49ers will get a net positive of results.
And by the way, it took almost 5 quarters to even get to 25 points for the Kansas City Chiefs to seal that victory in the Super Bowl. Some more notes on 49ers assistants, official new titles. Brandon Staley, as mentioned, assistant head coach / defense. Mick Lombardi, senior offensive assistant. Clay Kubiak getting the job that his brother Clint used to have before he moved on to be an offensive coordinator. Clay Kubiak is offensive passing game specialist. Cameron Clemens, assistant offensive line. And we knew about KJ Wright. He is officially defensive quality control coach, former Seahawks linebacker, now a coach with the 49ers, and kind of a exciting young coach. I'm excited to watch the future of KJ Wright. And I've heard him speak a few times, and he seems like a smart dude. I think that's a really good hire, and Kyle and John have done a really good job of finding young head coaches and developing, or not young head coaches, but guys who became head coaches, young coaches, and mentoring them and helping develop those good coaches. So both identifying and developing. It's been Kyle Shanahan's secret strength, superhero strength that nobody talks about is his ability to identify and coach up guys. And it kind of goes along with the whole defensive coordinator thing. It didn't work out when they brought in a guy who's already set in his ways. It's worked out better when he brings in people who have worked through the organization with the team already. So it'll be fun to watch KJ Wright's career. Real quick note on Clay Kubiak. He spoke about what that even means to be offensive passing game specialist. And essentially, it's kind of what we talked about with Brandon Staley on the defensive side. Everybody, all the skill guys, from quarterbacks to wide receivers to everybody that's involved in the passing game, he's there to help all of them out. And obviously a big part of all of this is game planning and helping Kyle and helping the quarterback be ready to go on game day.
In the chat, Montario Butler says, "Who's that on Croc's shirt? Mike is in the way. It's Kobe Bean Bryant."
Yeah, we don't want that Lakers paraphernalia on the podcast. Microphone back in front of that.
But yeah, with the new moves that the 49ers have made, again, it's hard. And I know everybody wants to make these big, what does this mean? What does that mean? And ultimately, I think it means that the 49ers will continue to be a solid team that's well coached and have really good football minds, and adding guys that I feel like only contribute to what it is that the 49ers are trying to do and what they're trying to build, really on both sides of the ball. Here's the biggest thing. If there's any change I would like to see made, it would be, is Kyle Shanahan able to, I don't want to say change his philosophy on how he sees offense being made. Like, that won't happen. But can he expand on it? Can someone get in his ear? Right? Can he have someone that advises him on being able to expand on the drop back passing game of the 49ers? Because everything works off of run action, run fakes, play actions, timing, rhythm. Where's the legit just drop back passing offense? And I feel like that's something that the 49ers maybe need to get to that next level to be able to win a Super Bowl. Like, if there's any one thing missing, I would say it's that aspect of the offense.
By the way, the chat's just getting weird with some really bad basketball takes, and this isn't a basketball podcast, so we're not going to go there. Kobe's not even on the starting five all time. What are we talking about?
What?
You think Kobe Bryant's a starting five, all time starting five? He's going to start over Jordan, LeBron. Where's he going to start? He's not a starting five all time player.
He can play the three. LeBron got to play the four.
Basketball
now is positionless anyway, so.
But then you're going to put KD in there anyway. Come on, you're going to bench Wilt Chamberlain. Let's go.
I'm putting Shaq right there. Shaq is the most. Shaq
also a bad Lakers take that we can't have on this podcast. I'm going to edit this out.
Shaq and Barry Bonds are probably the two most dominant players I've ever seen in my life. Barry Bonds, first of all, he's the most dominant athlete I've ever seen. Athlete of any. Most dominant. I've never seen anything like it. We never will. What I saw with him. And Shaq, Shaq fit, prime Shaq, Diesel, 96 Lakers. Like, he's dang near that. Especially when he kind of really got to his peak early 2000s. I heard Draymond Green saying, like, "Hey, this is how we would defend you." Like, Draymond, shut up. Like, you guys couldn't defend. I don't care what worst team you threw at him.
We're just not gonna consider when Wilt Chamberlain was averaging, didn't do it once, averaged for a season 50 points, 25 rebounds a game. That's not dominating.
I saw the film. He was playing against Brian Peacock Sr.
Okay? Oh, no, he was not. He was in the league the same time as Kareem was in the league, man. So one thing we have to do, and Croc, I think we can agree on this. Can we stop calling everybody the GOAT?
Yes.
The GOAT is one person. It's the greatest of all time. You can't have multiple GOATs. So stop with the GOAT stuff. No matter the sport, no matter what we're talking about, right? You only get one GOAT. So stop with the GOAT. We're over-GOAting this situation.
Yeah. It's just one guy in football is Jerry Rice. In basketball is MJ. In baseball it's Bonds, who they're trying to hold out the Hall of Fame, which is crazy.
In podcasting, it's Eric Crocker.
Yeah. And podcast voices, Brian Peacock.
There we go. All right, next, I want to talk more about where the rookies are lining up. And I think we can learn a lot about what the future plans are for some of these recent 49ers draft picks next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Get a special deal right now for our listeners. And when you are looking for those NFL tickets, I'm sure everyone got pumped up about whatever their favorite football game was going to be on the schedule with the schedule released last week. A lot of people have been pumped about that 49ers trip to Miami. Croc and I might be there as well. Whether it's you're buying NFL tickets for the fall, or you want some last minute deals on a baseball game now, or a basketball game, hockey playoffs, or how about a concert, comedy show, theater events, all of it near you. You can find those tickets at Game Time. Killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets and any tickets you need in your area. We're talking about saving up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for sports, comedy, and concerts near you. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Peacock, that KJ Wright signing, I like that. A little underrated.
Yeah,
little underrated of a signing, just to kind of get that guy, that caliber, a guy that the players will, respect. And you think of guys like Dominick Ryans and his how he climbed to stardom as an NFL coach, coming in with the 49ers 2017 in that regime. And curious to see if KJ Wright can have a similar path.
In the chat, some folks mentioned Leonard Hankerson kind of came in as an offensive quality control guy, starting to coach wide receivers. Daniel Bullocks is a guy who's been around for a while, had some consideration of being the next defensive coordinator. And by the way, Daniel Bullocks had some really nice things to say about 49ers recent draft picks, Malik Mustafa and Renardo Green. And really, when he was talking about Renardo Green, and we had already heard that they're going to start him out in the slot, the thing that he brought up first about Renardo Green wasn't even necessarily the cover skills. It was that he's a willing tackler and his ability to tackle. And that's what they liked about him, being flexible and being somebody who's played full-time roles on the outside at corner. He's played nickel. He's played safety in his college career. 49ers are going to start him out what looks like at nickel, and probably Croc. Do you feel like he's the odds-on favorite to start at that nickel spot? And obviously allowing Diamador Lenore to be fully outside guy, number 2 corner across from Charvarius Ward.
I'm sure Diamador Lenore would love that. I talk about some of these positions. Some of it's about money a little bit. Yeah. And Diamador Lenore knows, with him being in the contract year, if he's going to maximize the money he's able to get, is going to be at the cornerback position, even if it's not like this huge contract. But even then, let's say it's a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract extension. That 2-year contract extension will look a lot different no matter what it is, whatever money's for him, if he's on the outside as opposed to being in the nickel. So I like it from that standpoint for him. I also like it from the 49ers standpoint. I think Diamador Lenore really has really turned into a fine football player. And his versatility makes it, at least for me, I think you as well, just so confident with wherever they put him. I like him on the outside. I think he's scrappy. I think he's tenacious. You talk about the tackling the green. I think Diamador Lenore showed the ability to really kind of lay the lumber at times on guys. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. And maybe they have a little bit more ability to run with the vert with Green at slot. And I'm not saying more than just Lenore, but I remember past years with like K'Waun Williams. Terrific receiver. Did not care for him in man coverage, having to cover those slot fades. Like, it's already the hardest thing to do in defense, cover slot fades. But when you're not a fast guy, it's even tougher. And I think Green, albeit he's not a super speedster, watch his film, does a good job running with those verts. So it makes me comfortable at the very least that he can do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the 49ers, have, no matter who's playing in the slot, the 49ers have had some problems with that slot fade recently and been hit with it by multiple teams at multiple times. By the way, Fred Warner said that Diamador Lenore is the most underrated player on the 49ers defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and
that's a guy. I remember everybody people trying to write him off, man. And once I heard him speak after what he did in the previous postseason, I'm like, oh no, this is a guy. I hope he's a 49er for a long time. Just having that mindset reminds me a lot of Terrell Brown.
mindset. That's what the 49ers are chasing in the draft. That's what they've hit on the most with the players they've selected. So it's hard to hate on any draft pick where that's what they're aiming for with the players they're selecting. And I think that was a big factor with a lot of the early draft picks that the 49ers had in this class. One of those being Ricky Pearsall, the first round wide receiver. And I don't think anybody's been helped more by the Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings holdouts than Ricky Pearsall, because he gets a chance to get a lot more reps. And we kind of thought about what his role might be as a rookie, and maybe an underwhelming role just because there's not enough targets to go around for everybody the 49ers have. But Kyle Shanahan likes his receivers to know multiple spots. And I think the better fit for Pearsall long-term is eventually be that Z wide receiver if and when Deebo Samuel moves on. But Deebo Samuel is at OTAs. So right now, Pearsall's getting a lot of work at the X spot in Brandon Ayuk's old spot. So it's invaluable, and obviously a lot more reps than maybe he would have seen. So the more Brandon Ayuk holds out, the better it is for Ricky Pearsall to have an opportunity to work with the ones a little bit.
Yeah, work with the ones, pick their brains. I still think the 49ers, they do it's kind of weird with their rotation sometimes offensively. Anybody that's been to a 49ers training camp practice, you'll look out there and, you'll think you're watching the first group offense. Let's say it's Brock Purdy at quarterback, but the receivers are like Willie Snead. He'll get a couple reps, Tay Martin, and I don't know, just Trent Taylor now, right? Like it'll just be like super random. So we'll see if they can do more to allow these guys to build a continuity with each other during training camp, during OTAs. But it definitely helps to get out there, be with the guys, be able to pick their brain. Deebo Samuel, a smart guy who had to really work hard to learn this offense, and be able to talk to him about what he's seeing at this spot. And Kyle definitely likes to see these guys work multiple spots. We have, I'm coaching high school football, and I'm trying to put some of these third string guys in, and I'm like, all right, hey, go in that corner right here. It's like, coach, I don't know how to play corner. Well, guess you can't get no reps, right? You have a guy like Pearsall learning all the spots. I think Kyle's going to be comfortable lining him up wherever he needs to.
Albert in the chat asking about Drake Jackson. Drake Jackson still recovering from a knee injury, is not on the field for the 49ers, still in rehab mode, as is second-year tight end Cam Latu. Really important camp for those two guys. They got to get healthy and get on the field to earn themselves a foothold in their careers. Really, I think it's really important offseason for those guys, and they got to be healthy and get on the field first. One more note on wide receivers. Jacob Cowing, the 49ers rookie fourth rounder, is not at OTAs. He's not holding out. Like, what? Is he hurt? I haven't heard any reports about why he's not there. As much as it's helping Pearsall, this is hurting a rookie not to be at OTAs. This is some of the most important times he would need to be there. And I didn't hear about any injuries with Cowing. Like, he worked out, ran 4.3s in the offseason. And there's been zero reports that I've seen on why he's not at OTAs, but huge missed opportunity for whatever the reason is for Jacob Cowing.
Well, they're talking about him. I'm reading, like, I just typed in his name on Twitter, and they're talking about him as if he is there. Let's see. Okay, I'm watching Ricky Pearsall run some routes there. And then I think next up, nope, that's rookie minicamp. Well, Purdy talking about him. He's quick, he's twitchy, he's very smart and respectable. A guy that I can tell is going to get after in terms of knowing what his job is. I'm excited to see what he can do in terms of taking off the top. That was a quote from Purdy. And then right here, Larry Krueger posted 12 hours ago a video of, he says, Jacob Cowing has a great perspective, play the wide receiver position. Maybe that's an older clip. Where is he?
I don't know. I have no idea where he is. He was reported as not being there at the beginning of OTAs. Maybe he was hidden away and rehabbing something small that maybe happened in rookie minicamp, and that's why he wasn't seen out there. But yeah, that's an interesting one. And it happens a lot with rookies too, as they show up and they're doing track workouts all off season, and they come in and start doing football stuff and tweak a hamstring and then not able to work out, and then it slows down their progression as rookies. There's so many pitfalls for a rookie. And so you hope there's no big injuries or anything like that with Jacob Cowing. But I just thought that was one of the weirdest names I saw.
He's out there.
Is he?
Out there. Yeah, I'm watching a clip right now because I think who's first? Was it Debo? Yeah, Debo's first. So Debo's out there, and you see the huddle of guys behind Debo. Number 84, that's Jacob Cowing, right?
84? Wasn't Conley 84?
No, Conley was like 17 or
Conley and Cowing don't look anything alike, by the way. They're like 6 inches different in height. Cowing's only 5'8", so he should stand out pretty easily. He is wearing.
Oh no, he's 83. Okay,
83.
hold on.
Yeah.
Let me see if I see number 83 in here.
84 is Terrell Owens' kid, Tariq Owens.
Oh yeah, I don't see number 83. There's number 19, which is Trent Taylor. There's number 10, who's Bill. There's number 6, who's Danny Gray. There's 86, 84, and 14. I do not see 83.
Last note with the rookies, Croc, that I want to talk about here is where Dominick Puni has been lining up. And according to Matt Barrows, mostly it looks like Puni's been at right guard with the backups, but there's an opportunity there because John Feliciano has been working at center with the first team because the knee, was it tendonitis? Maybe it was, I don't remember what it was with Jake Brendel, but Jake Brendel not practicing because of a knee issue. Maybe it's arthritis, I think it was for Brendel, which is like, that's not something that's probably going to go away. So I don't know how much practice Jake Brendel, who the starting center for the 49ers, is going to miss because of this arthritis. But it sounds like they're, it's precautionary. He could play if they needed him to, but they're holding him out of OTAs. So John Feliciano's getting the work. Clearly, we know now, depth chart-wise, Feliciano's going to be the backup center and would be the starting center if Jake Brendel's out. Working behind him is Zakel and the undrafted rookie out of Michigan in Mike Nugent. And then Drake Nugent, Mike Nugent's the old kicker in the NFL. And Puni's been working at right guard behind Spencer Burford there. So maybe potential if Jake Brendel misses time, Puni could potentially push the veteran now, Spencer Burford, at right guard. So that's where those guys are lining up.
49ers definitely looking to get better aside from Burford. I mean, just having him rotate throughout most of his rookie year, essentially benching him in his sophomore year in the NFL.
Yeah.
This year, I have a hard time thinking for someone who got so many opportunities. Like, they plugged you in. Like, you were dang their starter day one training camp your rookie year. You're starting at right guard. And each time they just like, gotta pull back. Gotta pull back. Gotta bench you. Don't trust you. I think that's a guy they're definitely trying to improve over.
Last one real quick here. Distortion Production says, is Pearsall going to be lining up in the slot receiver a la Cooper Kupp? Not quite Cooper Kupp. The 49ers don't run that much 11 personnel, and so it's a different style of position. But, I mean, if Juwan Jennings is potentially traded or not around, then I think that's the best role for Pearsall to come in and be that, that number 3 wide receiver, that slot guy, get open, catch a lot of first down passes. I think that would be the ideal role for Pearsall as a rookie. So I think there is some depth chart stuff that needs to shake out here once everyone's actually in camp, on the field, playing games. And I think we're going to learn a lot about what the plans are for these 49ers, especially those rookies. All right. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We appreciate you. We love you. And Croc and I will be back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.